Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Bhaktimulam Gurur Kripa. Barhapidam Natvarvapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibhradvasah Kanakakapisham Vaijayanti Chamala Randhran Venu Radhar Sudhaya Purayan Gopavrinday Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishadgeet Kirtihi Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvangha Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe 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 Radhe राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
बोलिए युगल सरकार की, श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की। चार दीना की बात अरे मन
चार दीना की बात अरे मन
चार तनु शरद चांदनी बीते
नरतनु शरद चांदनी बीते
उन्हीं अंधियारी रात अरे मन
पुनी अंधियारी रात अरे
चार दिना की बात अरे मन
चार दिना की बात अरे मन
तू सुवत कछु जानत नाही
तू सोवत कछु जानत नाही
तू सुवत कछु जानत नाही
तू सोवत कछु जानत नाही
काल लगा यो घात अरे मन
काल लगायो घात अरे मन
काल लगा यो घात अरे मन
काल लगायो घात अरे मन
चार दिना की बात 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 अरे मन
In my talk last night, I explained that both saints and scriptures alike value this human birth as something very precious. This leads us to assume that there must be some great mystery behind the human form, which is yet unknown to us. There are 8.4 million species of living beings in this world. Many of them we have seen. They come in different shapes, colors, sizes. Some creatures live in water, some in air, while others live on the ground, on earth. Man and other higher animals are born from the womb. Birds and sea animals are born from egg. Insects and worms are born from moisture. Plants and trees are born from the earth. Now, out of all the living beings belonging to the 8.4 million species, it is only the human form that has been given great importance and attention by all the scriptures from the Vedas to the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, Garuda ji asked Kagbhushundi ji 7 important questions. And these 7 questions are the most important questions that can ever be asked. And out of those, the first is, as Garudaji asked Kagbhushundi ji, Prathama hi kahu नाथ मति धीरा सबते दुर्लभ कवन शरीरा. My Lord, first of all, please tell me which form of life is most difficult to attain. So Kagbhushundi ji answered, and he said, Nar tanu sam nahi Kavaniyu dehi jeeva chara char jachat jehi. So the answer that was given was that there is no form of life superior to the human form which is desired by all classes of living beings. Let us try to find out why. All living beings can be placed under 2 categories. There are inert or stationary beings, like plants and trees, and then there are moving beings or mobile beings, creatures, such as humans, birds, animals, insects. People ask sometimes if living beings are living, plants and trees rather, are also living beings. The answer is an emphatic yes. We read in the newspapers and journals from time to time about scientists experimenting with plants and coming to the conclusion that they too possess consciousness. Modern science is coming to terms with the fact that plants and trees are living beings also. And the scriptures, on the other hand, have been proclaiming this since time immemorial. Now, it is very possible for a human in the present life to become a tree in the next birth. Considering the superiority of this human life that we have, it is very difficult for us to imagine that we can ever move to such a degraded existence. And yet there is every chance of it happening if we don't utilize this life, this human birth, for which it has been bestowed upon us. Just as a student cannot expect to pass his exams if he has merely scrawled his name all over the exam paper instead of answering questions. In the same way, we humans should not expect to receive a human birth in our next life if we have spent our life running after the pleasures of this world and not realizing the actual value or the significance of this human life. So anyway, let us get back to the subject on hand. As I mentioned, that plants and trees are also living beings. Now, moving creatures such as birds, animals, and insects, they use these stationary beings. Man, on the other hand, uses both inert, in other words, stationary beings, and also moving creatures. Man is can bring the wildest and the most ferocious animals under control. He tames lions and puts them in the circus for personal gain, for personal benefit. So we are naturally left with the question as to what is so special about this human life that places us above all living beings. So Bharatri Hari, he answers this question. And he tells us, Ahar nidra bhayamaithunancha samanya me tat pashubhir naranam. So he tells us that man is equal to animals in 4 respects: eating, sleeping, fearing, and procreating. But Shri Maharaji, this is what Bharatri Hari says, but Shri Maharaji disagrees. According to Shri Maharaji, we are, in fact, inferior to animals and other living beings in all these 4 respects. Take the example of a cow or a goat. What do these animals feed on? Grass, leaves, and other food stuff that nature provides them. Now, nature has also provided us an abundant variety of foods, but we choose not to eat these foods in their natural form, preferring instead to fry or spice them before consuming them. The sad truth is that unlike other living beings, most humans live to eat, not eat to live. And yet, in our arrogance, we claim that we do not eat like animals. Now let's talk about sleeping habits. Animals and birds are most regular in their sleeping habits. And we humans, in comparison, are most irregular. At times, we sleep as little as 4 hours, and at times, as much as 12 hours. There's no discipline. There's no discipline. And yet in our ignorance, we claim that we're the most intelligent of all creatures. Is it intelligent to live a life divorced from all rules and regulations, governed only by the desires of our whimsical mind? Looking at the third aspect, that of fear, we come to the conclusion that we are inferior to animals even in this respect. Animals and birds, they move about freely regardless of day and night. How many of us would have the courage to do so? You see, fear is an integral part of our life. It is something which is instilled into us from our early childhood. As children, we have a few fears, and our fears grow as we do. Psychologists have identified some irrational fears known as phobias. The word phobia is derived from the word phobos, from the Greek word, which means fear. So some have fear, acrophobia, fear of heights. Some have fear of open spaces, agoraphobia. Claustrophobia, fear of enclosed spaces like elevators and tunnels and closets, etc. Ailurophobia, fear of cats. Pleurophobia, fear of multitude of people. Hydrophobia, fear of water. Americans are afraid of Russians. Russophobia. And Russians are afraid of Americans. Americophobia. And some people are afraid of absolutely anything and everything. They suffer from pantophobia. So we are inferior to animals even in this respect. And the fourth and the final attribute, which is the satisfaction of lower instincts. Sadly, animals display a definite superiority over humans even in this respect. Animals such as cows and buffaloes and lions, they procreate once a year. But man, in comparison, spends his entire life, wastes his entire life running after sensual pleasures, bringing the greatest harm to his mind, body, and soul. The superiority of animals above humans also becomes evident when we observe the inherent survival skills of these creatures who possess natural knowledge without any formal training. A baby monkey fearlessly jumps from branch to branch and from tree to tree. A 4-day-old goat begins to graze and is able to distinguish between edible and poisonous shrubs. A calf begins to swim by itself. A human child, a human newborn, can never be as agile as a monkey with all the training in the world, nor can it swim. A human child is the most, it cannot survive, is what I'm trying to say, without parental care. It's the most helpless creature. Moreover, if a human child is left or is put with a pack of wolves, it will start howling like a wolf. And if it's placed with a With deer, it'll start running like a deer. Another point to keep in mind is that while we depend on others to build our homes for us, it is seen that even the tiniest creatures are so skilled at building or creating their own shelter. Looking at the elaborate nest of the weaver bird, we are amazed at the extraordinary skills of these birds. So here we return to the same question. Why are humans extolled to such an extent by the scriptures and the saints and declared to be the most superior of all living beings? So Bharatrihari, he answers this question in the second line of his verse. And he says, Jnano hitesha madhiko vishesho jnanena hinah pashubhihi samanah. So he tells us in the second line where he likens humans to other living beings, to animals, and he says that the blessing that places humans on a higher level than other beings is knowledge. It is knowledge. Man possesses an intrinsic capacity to distinguish between right and wrong. And the Ramayana states the same thing. Hita in anahita pashu pachiyu jana manush tanu guna jnana nidhana. Ramayana. And what happens in the absence of knowledge or the faculty of discrimination? Yesham na vidya na tapo na danam jnanam na shilam na guno na dharmah te mrityuloke bhavibhar bhuta manushya rupen mrigaschharanti. A human begins to behave like an animal, not merely living, but existing. He becomes unworthy of being called a human. Thus, it is the power of rational thinking that distinguishes us as humans and places us on a higher pedestal. Now, this is easy to understand. But it is not easy to understand human superiority over celestial beings. Celestial beings. Let alone other creatures in the world, humans are capable of even enslaving celestial gods. We read in the Ramayana that Varun, Kuber, Yamraj, the god of death, they were all servants of Ravan. And just as man can bring the wildest and the most ferocious animals under his control by means of material skills, he is very capable of controlling and defeating the celestial gods by means of spiritual perfection. So the celestial gods, they sing the glories of this human body. Gayanti devah kilagit kani dhanyastu ye bharat bhumi bhage. So why do the celestial gods desire the human form? Why? We read in the scriptures that the celestial gods are superior in many respects. Kamdev, he excels in beauty. Kuber is the god of wealth. And Indra, the king of heaven, is most opulent. We hear all of this through the scriptures. And not only that, celestial gods, they possess superior qualities than we do. So unlike the human body, their body is not made of the 5 structural elements: earth, air, water, fire, and space, like ours is. Our material body is made of these 5 structural elements. But their body is ethereal. It is so lustrous and fragrant that if the most ordinary of those gods were to appear in front of us now, none of us sitting over here, we would not be able to contain their beauty within our material senses, and we would immediately lose consciousness. So the most ordinary of these gods, in comparison to the most beautiful woman, so if one of the most ordinary gods were to appear, the most beautiful woman in this world, Miss Universe, would appear as ugly as a pig in front of that most ordinary human, the celestial god rather. So they possess a number of special qualities. They never suffer from hunger or thirst. Their bodies, they never excrete any perspiration, odor, or any waste matter. Dust can never touch their body. Their feet never touch the ground. Their body does not cast a shadow. The list goes on and on. So despite possessing such an enviable body with so many qualities, celestial gods still desire the human form, which is nothing but a bag of flesh and bones, excreting filth and odor all the time. So if knowledge, you may think that knowledge perhaps is the reason for the superiority of humans. But it is not so. Because even though we boast about our space-age technology, the fact remains that we cannot compete against the celestial gods in knowledge, because they possess weapons, Agni Ban, Vayu Ban, etc., that kill only the intended, leaving all others unharmed. So even though our knowledge places us above birds, animals, plants, trees, etc., it is not superior to the celestial gods. So, then, what is the reason for the superiority of our human birth, human life, human form? So Goswami Tulsidas Ji gives an answer in the Ramayana, and he says, Narak Swarg Apvarg Niseni Gyan Birag Bhakti Sukha Deni. So Goswami Tulsidas Ji says the human body is the best possible means of attaining hell. Now, these words are coming from the same Tulsidas Ji, who also tells us that there is no form of life quite like the human form. And now he's telling us that the human form is a stairway, is special because it is a stairway leading to hell. Quite like praising someone to the high heavens and then at the same time calling him a fool. So before you get confused, let me explain to you the logic behind this curious statement of Goswami Tulsidas Ji. You see, we as humans are the only beings who have been endowed with the gift of knowledge. So if we utilize this gift, it will lead us to greatness. But if we misuse this gift, then the consequences can be horrifying, leading one to their downfall. So abusing this precious gift from God is the most abominable crime that can be committed in the eyes of God. And the punishment incurred is incarceration in hell. And because 99.9% of the humans, they commit this crime, Tulsidas Ji first refers to hell. Next, he refers to those desirous of heaven. If you look in the dictionary under the term heaven, you will find amongst others the following definition: the dwelling place of God and his angels, variously conceived as the place where the blessed will live after death. Now, all leading religions of the world, they offer heaven as a reward for orthodox performance of rites and rituals. Some people like to think of their deceased family members as residents of heaven. It is obvious that they have a positive image of heaven in their mind. But let us try to find out if their conception of heaven corresponds to what the Vedas declare it to be. So what do the Vedas tell us? Avidyayam antare vartamanaah swayam dhiraah panditam manyamanaah dandramyamanaah paryanti mudha andhe naiva niyamana yathandhaah. Mundakopanishad. Ishtapurtam manyamana varishtam nanyachreyo vedayante pramudhaah nakasya prishtete sukrite nubhutvemam lokam hinataram va vishanti. Ved. Mundakopanishad. So what do the Vedas say? They are fools who desire heaven and those who attain heaven. Not ordinary fools, mind you. Pramudhaah, greatest fools. You see, heaven is a reward that is bestowed upon us for our virtuous actions. And because our virtuous actions are limited, so is the duration of our stay in heaven. So let us suppose you deposit $100,000 in your bank and you make monthly withdrawals. There will come a time when all the money will be gone from the account. So in the same way, think of the virtuous actions as money in the bank and going to Swarg or to heaven as spending that money. So just like money in the bank, your virtuous actions will one day be exhausted, and what will happen? You will be forced out of heaven. Tavat pramodate swarge yavat. So you will be forced out of heaven. And then what will happen? Where will you go? Hinataram va vishanti. Reincarnate in lower forms is what will happen as a consequence of receiving entrance in heaven. Next, Tulsidas refers to those who aim at the attainment of liberation. These people realize that heavenly gains is not going to put an end to the cycle of life and death, and so they strive for liberation, mukti. And finally, Tulsidas refers to those very rare souls who love God unselfishly and strive for God realization through bhakti, through devotion. So what Tulsidas is explaining through this verse is that we as humans have been granted the privilege, we have been granted the opportunity to perform actions to achieve whatever we desire. So we can perform actions to attain hell, heaven, liberation, or divine love realization. We alone have been endowed with that privilege, alone, humans. That is why the Vedas declare that we can perform punyena punya lokam nayati papena papamubhabhyameva manushya lokam. That we can perform virtuous actions and end up in heaven, evil actions end up in hell, and perform a combination of both and be born in this world. So it is humans alone, we alone, have been empowered to achieve, to transcend the limitations of this world and reach the highest. Reach the highest. And only we have that privilege alone out of all the 8.4 million species of living beings. Only we do. So this is the reason, this is the mystery that our scriptures and saints unveil. That we as humans have the opportunity to perform actions according to what we desire to achieve. Only we have, because those actions fructify. Other forms of life, they fall in the category of bhog yoni. We fall in the category of karma yoni. We can perform actions and receive the fruit of our actions. Other living beings, they only reap the consequences of their previous actions that they performed in their previous life, in that specific body, whatever it may be. Nevertheless, unfortunately, majority of the people are, in fact, slayers of their own very soul. We live our life with only our physical welfare in mind, paying little or no importance whatsoever to the welfare of our inner self, our Atma. We don't. It is said that when Kabir Das, Saint Kabir, when he used to walk by a certain place in Banaras, he always noticed a man sitting in his garden. And so one day he decided to stop by and advise him. He said, instead of idly sitting in the garden, you could better spend your time in spiritual meditation. So the man replied, he said, but my children are very young. My children are very young, and I will be able to afford time for spiritual sadhana and practice only after they have grown up. So when his children had grown up, once again, Saint Kabir met that man, and he asked him, so now do you find time for spiritual sadhana? So the man replied that I'm waiting for my children to grow up, to get married rather, and look after themselves independently. And then I will be able to devote time to spiritual sadhana. So after his children had been married, Kabir Das again asked him, so now, do you find time? They're married now, so undoubtedly you must be devoting time to spiritual practice. So the man replied, I'm waiting for my grandchildren to grow up and get married. I'm waiting for them to get married. So when they were married, Saint Kabir asked that man, so what is your condition now? How's it going these days? So he said, well, my grandchildren are a little bit careless. And so because they're careless, I have to look after the house. I have to guard the house at night. Because if I don't, then little that we have in this house might get stolen. So a few years went by, and Kabir Das Ji returned to that house, and he inquired about the man. And his sons and his grandsons told Kabir Das that the man had passed away. So Saint Kabir said, oh, what a pity. The poor man, he wasted his entire life following the orders and the desires of his worldly mind that led him into such deep attachment to his family and his beasts. Only if he had spent time in spiritual sadhana, it would have started to end his imprisonment in this world. So when the man was alive, he was very, very attached to his family. Very attached, and he usually looked after the cows and the buffaloes. So he was fond of this one particular cow, and when he died, he reincarnated as her calf. As her calf. So when the calf grew up into a bullock, it was hitched to the plow. And then when it was no longer able to work, then it was hitched to the cart. And some 10 years after that, it was sent to the butchers who sold its flesh, and the hide was used to make the drum. So whenever anyone beat the drum, it repeated this refrain: I came as a bullock. I came as a bullock. I was hitched to the plow, and then to the cart. And then I was sent to the butchery, who cut my flesh into pieces and sold it, and my hide was used to make the drum. Now, whatever karma is left of me is now receiving blows, and I'm continually in misery. This illustration, it demonstrates our condition. We have wasted our lives, endless lifetimes, in pursuit of the world. And we will continue to do so until and unless we realize the value of this precious human life that we have. So along with realizing the importance of this life, we must also reflect on its transient nature. Because our life is as uncertain as that bubble which appears in the water only to disappear in the next. Ayushyam jalalola bindu chapalam phenopanam jivitam pani kera budbuda asmanas ki jati dekhat hi. So, this is how fickle our life is. Some die right in their mother's womb. Some immediately upon birth, and some in the prime of their youth. Contrary to popular belief, death does not wait for us to grow old. It doesn't. Let me relate an incident from the life of Radha Krishna Paramhans. Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Need 5 minutes of your attention. Just 5 minutes. So I was going to relate to you all an incident from the life of Radha Krishna Paramhans. As I mentioned, that contrary to popular belief, death does not wait for us to turn old. So Ramakrishna Paramhans, he had developed cancer of the throat. What to speak of those days, even today, there's no such cure for cancer. So everyone knew that the saint's death was imminent. But he had gained renown in Calcutta and Bengal as a saint who had transformed many lives. So people went to him and said, "You have gained perfection. You have gained perfection. And what is this cancer? Getting rid of this cancer is a child's play for you. Just ask the Divine Mother and she will cure you and your cancer will be gone. What is something as trivial as cancer for someone who is capable of removing Maya? What is cancer? No big deal." So when Ramakrishna Paramhansa heard this, he sternly replied, and he said, "Should I divert my mind from my Divine Mother to worrying and to thinking about cancer? How could I expect her, how could I ask her to do such dirty work for me? How can I engage? I have loved her with a desire to serve her. I'm not going to engage in such pettiness for the sake of this wretched body. And besides, even if I get cured, my time is destined. My time to go is destined. I will have to go at the appointed time." So whether it's a saint, whether it's God, saints, an ascetic, a sage, or anyone for that matter, when their time of death is destined, they will have to go. In the world, we say, "Oh, such and such a person passed away because of heart attack." They had a heart attack. It wasn't heart attack, it was the attack of Yamraj. It wasn't the attack of the heart. It was Maharaj that attacked, and one had to go. We hear many of these cases. Once, the god of death, he came to someone and said, "My dear friend, today is your day. Come on with me." So the man said, "Well, I'm not ready." So the god of death said, "Well, your name is next on my list, so you must come." So he said, "Well, just wait on a minute. Why don't you come inside, have a seat? I'll give you some food." So he offered him some food with some sleeping pills in it. So god of death, he fell asleep. So in the meantime, this man, he took the list and he removed his name from the top and put it at the bottom. So when the god of death, when he woke up and he said, "You're such a good host. You're so kind to me." "Yeah, so kind to me. So what I'll do, I'll start from the bottom." "I will start from the bottom," is what he said. The point is that no one can escape from the clutches of death. So in this line, Shri Maharaj has revealed, "Tu sovat kachu janat nahi." You are completely oblivious to the danger that is ahead of you. Kal lagayo ghat. Yamraj, the god of death, is watching. And you are in the stupor of ignorance, oblivious, as if nothing is going to happen. Wake up to this reality that it's not going to be like this forever. So wake up while you have the time. Do something to elevate yourself. Elevate yourself. So don't be oblivious. Don't ignore this danger, because it will happen. Death will come. And while you have the chance, then wake up and do something. Do sadhana. So the remaining lines I will explain tomorrow as my last and third pravachan, and I will try to explain the last 3 remaining lines tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Shrimad Sadguru Sarkar ki, Ladli Lal ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.